recommendations. Before starting a treatment program, you should consult your physician.
T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Get on the couch with the dope doctor. Get on the couch with the dope doctor. Get up on. Shut up and sit down.
Oh, what's up? Welcome, everybody. Hello. This is the Couch Live. It's the Couch Live edition of Dope and Dharma, actually. So, hello, everybody. I am Dope. I am the Dope Doctor, the street certified Dope Doctor, Louis Delgado, here with you here on WOKB 1680 AM every not Friday, Mondays at 8 p.m. Monday. And that's the Dharma guy, Trinity Phillips. What's up, Trinity?
Hey, what is up?
Nothing, man. Just here, getting used to being kind of lazy-ish and doing the show from home rather than going into the radio station.
Right.
You know, I don't know. Getting kind of used to it.
Still not lazy. We're still,
It's lazy-ish, I said. Not lazy. It's lazy-ish. It's actually cost-effective. We're actually saving the planet. We want to reduce our footprint. And so we're not using fuel and all that stuff. Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, look at that. We can see the guys over there, man.
Check right on.
Hey, man, good to see you guys over there. What we're seeing, people, is the live feed over there at WOKB 1680 right now. So we see Rob Love, and who is with him, Trinity?
That's Mr. One and only Greg Jackson.
That's Greg Jackson,
attorney at law.
That's right.
Or does he go by Esquire? See, if I went through all that schooling, I would make sure that it was Esquire at all times.
Yeah, he said only on Sundays. Only on Sundays.
Man, I would even make my wife call me Esquire. I'd be like, "Look, babe, you gotta make sure you call me Esquire every time you talk to me."
Mr. Esquire.
Exactly.
Actually, it was my brother, who's also an attorney, that pointed out that it's a doctoral degree. So really, you can call him doctor even.
There you go. I like your thinking.
Yeah, it's a doctor of law.
And for those of you who are not watching us live, but you're listening, that was actually the show that shows up before us on Monday nights on WOKB 1680 or 100.7 FM if you're listening. Right. That is it's called the Let's Talk Nation, I believe.
Yeah, Let's Talk Nation. That's right.
That's right.
Hey, tell everybody who our who our producer is right there. I like the way you do your little intros.
The one and only Chris Shaw.
Shaw.
Yeah.
You already know. This is how we do it. That's all I got.
Oh,
there you go. All right, Montel.
That's right. All right. So anyway, we are here on WOKB 1680 AM. That's the AM radio station. Of course, there's an FM radio station as well. Trinity, what is that?
100.7.
That's right, 100.7. That's right. And look, man, we're having people saying they know who Greg Jackson is right here. I'm getting all little text messages from people or messages from people. Where'd that message come from, Trinity? There's like all different messages from all different sources. So you want to go ahead and explain the sources situation, Trinity, since it's all kind of new to me.
Yeah, if you're watching us, if you want to watch live on Monday nights, you can watch us on facebook.com/WPSN99. Or you can look us up at Dope and Dharma, but good luck with that one because Facebook doesn't like us at times. Or you can watch us live on YouTube. Look up Dope and Dharma on YouTube. And if you want to check out our Tuesdays and Fridays shows, you can do the same locations, or you can also do Twitch, Dope and Dharma.
There you go. All right. So so while you make your comments, Trinity or Trinity has the controls today, so Trinity may put your comment on the screen so we can see it. So whether you're coming from any of those other feeds, we can see it. So again, if you're listening to this on WOKB and you want to join us, you can call in at WOKB at what number, Shaw?
That's 407-894-1680. Again, that number is 407-894-1680.
Yeah, I think he almost forgot it. I think he almost gave up his.
Somebody's out of practice.
I'm handling like 5 things at one time right now.
Oh no, I surprised you. That's what I like doing. That's why I go to Dharma Guy and I go to you. I like just throwing it on the fly like that. I don't like giving no warning. Anyway,
Yes.
all right. So this is the Couch Live edition of Dope and Dharma. So, all right, Trinity. So what are we talking about today, man? The Couch Live is a show that's been on for what, past 23 years. You've been on it with me. We're now in our 11th year together. Doing this show. It's focused on addiction and recovery and all things in between. It's a little bit different than our Dharma Time show, which focuses on
You're my longest
spirituality.
relationship.
Yeah, I am your longest relationship.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, and you didn't even put a ring on it. What's up with that?
Why buy the cow when I can get the milk for free?
Whoa. Oh, God. I've never felt so used. Or so cheapened.
It's funny though, man. Like I just thought about that when you said that, because my wife
Yeah.
and I've only been together for what, like 8 years, I think.
Yeah.
So like, other than like my other friend who I've known freaking forever, but as far as like a working relationship, this is the longest relationship I've ever been in.
Yeah. So Angel, if you need some feedback, if you need some pointers, just call me. Yeah.
There you go.
I know how to speak Trinity.
Yeah. Too bad she doesn't listen to these shows.
That's right. We can all relate on that one. All right. So
speaking of that, the only ones that are related to us that currently watch is my mom and your mother just said hi. There she is.
Hey, Martha Delgado. What's up,
Our moms always watch, dude, but our wives never do.
Hi, Mom. I love you. All right. So that's pretty cool, man. All right. So let's get into it. So we're talking about self-talk today, Trinity.
Yes.
Self-talk. Now, when I first heard this, I mean, like as a subject, not for this.
See, there's my
show,
mom now.
Put it up. I want to see it. Hello, Kathy.
There she is.
Yeah, I love the mothers, man. You gotta love the mothers.
Exactly.
But I must say, at least Dana's downstairs making dinner. So,
and mine's sleeping on the couch. So
that's a plus. What's yours doing today, Shaw? What's yours doing?
Well, we just left. My daughter just left the T-ball ceremony that we was at, and she just got a trophy for having a good T-ball season. So
wow, very cool.
We did, and that's why we're late. So I think they went out to go get pizza.
Right on, very cool.
That's pretty sweet.
Well, they paid me some. That might be another ball game.
That dad gets the biggest piece of chicken, right? Don't you get?
Right. I get the biggest piece of chicken, but everything else, I might not get it.
Yeah,
that sucks.
Yeah. Well, you got a participating dad trophy. So
I appreciate it.
That's
Hi, Mom.
Right. That's right. Yeah, more moms. I love it. All right. So self-talk. I gotta admit, Trinity, when I first heard the concept of self-talk, I'm in my early 20s when I first started practicing, right? So I come in as a new counselor, and you go through all the you take the courses, but psychology is full. Anybody ever studied psychology? It's just a bunch of dates and names. It's really ridiculous. It's not until later courses and other things that you do that you actually get any hands-on experience or anything. It's pretty disappointing. It does a lot of good for wanting to self-diagnose your own family and yourselves, and it makes you kind of crazy. That's why first-year psych students are kind of annoying because they want to diagnose everybody. But other than that, it doesn't really teach you much. And then there's all these corny concepts, Trinity. And the corny, look, to back it up, the corny stuff works. I gotta admit, the corny stuff does work. But it's Trinity. I mean, like corny. And so when I first heard self-talk, I was like, really? Self-talk? I mean, like, I like myself. You're good looking. You're nice. You're sweet. You're kind. Like, I got to do this stuff.
You're good enough. You're strong enough. And doggone people like you.
Yeah. Yeah. Until you actually start doing it and you start realizing how much negative self-talk that we do.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until then that I really kind of grabbed it. So what was your first impression? And do you remember first hearing about self-talk and what you thought about it?
The first time, if I'm honest, the first time that it really was on my radar, like I think I heard it, as a younger man. I think I heard it, but I never really kind of entered my, lexicon, if you will.
Yeah.
Until I started getting into spirituality, and still I started realizing that I needed something better in my life and I need to make a change. And for me, it was in obviously I'm a Buddhist, so when I got into Buddhism and it was right speech, as far as the Eightfold Path, within that says whatever you speak should be truthful and useful, but it's also for yourself. That was the first time for me that it really clicked. I was like, oh, wait a minute, like. Yeah, I really should motivate myself. And then that was actually reiterated with not only yourself but a good friend of ours, both Aaron. He said something one time. I had him come out to like a group or something, and he said that for whatever reason we always like think, and mentally anyways, we should pull ourselves up by the bootstraps and go out there and work, but with other things we don't do that. And so like that was, so mine wasn't like an aha moment, it was more like an aha evolution that I came to realize how important it really, really is.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. You can have your aha moments, and I mean, although I don't have a specific date of aha moment, I just remember it
Right.
feeling kind of corny. What about you, Shaw? You ever hear? I mean, you're not in the field, so like when you hear self talk, like what do you think about?
Well, self-talk for me was, can't nobody beat me. Can't nobody outdo me. Can't nobody be better than me. Because being from an athletic point of view, once I hit the wrestling mat or the boxing ring, I'm the biggest dog on the mat. I'm the biggest dog in the ring, and you not gonna beat me. I'm gonna beat myself. So that's what I thought self-talk was: self-motivation, self-encouragement, encouragement. You can't stop me. Can't nobody stop me but me. That's all it is to it. End of discussion. I'm getting back into it. Even
I feel it. I feel like you. I'm glad I'm not there because I feel like you'd punch me right now. He was getting wound up, isn't he, Trinity?
Let me bring it back down. I'm gonna bring it back.
You see somebody say like nobody
getting that too.
I'm fly like a butterfly, sting like a bee. He's
Right,
just get all Muhammad Ali on me all of a sudden. It's like, all right, Shaw, I feel you. So Muhammad Ali's a great point because if you watch all those old tape, like I loved watching Muhammad Ali as a little kid fight, and then but as I got older, I really understood a lot of the tape and a lot of the stuff that he had going around him. And he always had that guy that would always like get in his face and go, and that's why they would do the and yeah, exactly. And it was really cool, it's like intimidating to others, like when you talk smack, but it's motivating for yourself. I am a smack talker on like the baseball field and stuff like that. So when I played sports, I definitely was a smack talker. I got to admit, I'd sit there and just chirping your. Matter of fact, one of my nephews, I was talking to him last night, and he was laughing about one of his early memories of me, like when he was a kid, like 12, 13. He goes, man, I still think about when we play poker. He goes, and I would get so mad at you because you would sit there and just get in my head. You would just talk the whole time and just kind of mess with me. And then you'd win. And then it would really make me mad. I said, yeah, that's kind of the deal. So it's really kind of like that, Trinity. It's kind of like that smack talking to somebody else to get in their head. But what we never really thought is that we do it to ourselves. We get in our own head.
Yeah.
And if you're one of those people that's always, oh my God, I'm so stupid. What an idiot I am. And you stuff like, well, I mean, you might not think that that's a big deal. And maybe it isn't. But if you happen to be a negative thinking person and you find yourself talking like that, then, it's like a little quacking and it's a little bit of feathers, you know what I mean? And then you just need a few other symptoms of duckishness. But there you kind of accumulate a couple of things that you might do and kind of say, man, am I a negative person? And do I view things negatively? Because a lot of people, Trinity, tell me if you've heard this before, when people are negative, they just say, no, I'm just realistic. I'm just down to earth. I'm just being honest.
Yes.
Right.
I hear that all the yes.
So apparently negativity is synonymous with honesty or reality to a lot of people. And so when they are negative about themselves or other people or the situation, they hide behind that veil.
Well, another way I use self-talk to get myself out of trouble. When I was in high school, probably not even high school, I was probably in the 7th grade, 8th grade, somewhere right around in there. And being in Chicago, we got different gangs. So I know I was in an area that I wasn't supposed to be in. Because you got to know your territory, you got to know your set.
Right.
And I knew I had to get on the bus, but across the street, coming off the train at this bus stop was a group of guys from a different gang, and I knew that they were going to try to pick on me. So my self-talk then became standing in the middle of the street, screaming at the cars, laying down in the ground, getting up, talking to the pole, and
crazy
in a circle, right? So when I walked past them, they just opened up, and I just got on the bus and sat down by myself, and I made it through without getting jumped on.
Nice. Yeah, see, that's a good jail trick. You know what I mean? Like I always told myself, if I go to prison, I'm just gonna act like a satanic crazy guy because nobody wants to mess with a
Nobody gonna
satanic
bother you,
crazy.
right?
Right.
No, no, they just leave me alone. But that's a good one, Sean. I mean, yeah, that's right. So in the respect to what we're talking about today, though, I wanna go into a little bit of how we can motivate ourselves because like there's a lot of individuals out there that get anxious and depressed and angry and bitter or frustrated about their situation. And to some people, when you're feeling like that, you tend to drink a little bit more than you should, or you tend to use substances that just may not really be working for you. And for people that have an issue with substances, that could be a pretty deadly thing to do or a very, very harmful thing to do. So I think it's important that we tap into how, when we talk to ourselves or when we process through a situation mentally and verbally, how that kind of takes us to a path of emotion. And when you feel you don't really enjoy, you don't like, you're gonna want to self-medicate that emotion. So if you trigger yourself, right? Like one thing is Trinity calling me an idiot, like that, it's not really gonna bother me that much. Shaw calls me an idiot, it's not gonna really bother me that much. My dad calls me an idiot, I just think he's calling me, he must need something. But if I call myself an idiot, that's I'm gonna believe it. I'm gonna believe it because it's how I'm gonna identify myself from now on. If I identify myself from now on that way, then I don't feel like I can perform. Then why even perform? Because then I don't want to let myself down, right? Because we fear that failure, right? And that's a whole other show
Yep.
we could talk about. Is it really failure, right? Talk about that on Dharma time and stuff like that. But I'm gonna fear that failure so much that I'm not even gonna give it a shot or feel some sort of emotion that I'm just gonna want to escape from, Trinity. And that can lead to using substances, which, obviously is problematic for a lot of people. What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Before I give my comments, Marissa, who's watching us on Facebook, said,
Huh?
she said, how you talk to yourself becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy for
Mm,
positive or negative, depending on what you say to yourself. You set
yeah.
the expectations or lack thereof. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Um, yeah,
So you
and
do
I've
the
used that a
okay
lot.
method to yourself. you,
Yeah.
you know,
Um, but one of the things that I think with self-talk is very interesting to me
yeah,
is like when I was really back in the day when I was doing only the health and fitness stuff, right? So before I got introduced to the addiction world and started, the Dharma guy stuff, I was
huh,
strictly the health and fitness world. And in doing so, becoming a master level trainer, I learned a lot of the science behind staying in shape and taking care of yourself and whatnot. And so the thing I would run into constantly is I would have clients who would come to me who have battled weight for, years. And they got like bro science is what we call it. Basically junk science, people who aren't qualified to give advice saying, "Oh, this is what you should do." And they
right.
would do all these things and it wouldn't work, right?
Mm,
And what I would try to explain to them is their perspective is fractured. It's like trying to look through a kaleidoscope thinking what what you're looking at is what's real, not realizing that no, your perspective is coming from all these hurts, all these disappointments, all these perceived failures, and so you're looking at it through that lens. And so to you, it seems like that's how it is, even though to the rest of us we see it differently. So, for instance, if I had a client come to me who was yo-yo dieting for years, 50, 60, 70 plus pounds overweight,
yeah.
thinking that they tried everything, and they tried all these little fad diets and all these things that were not based on sound science or sound advice, which wouldn't work for anybody really. They're not going to work. But
Right.
instead of them saying, "Hey, I was given bad information," no, it was, "Well, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, it doesn't work for me." And then they would start to really believe that. They would actually believe that they are the one, right? That physiology and anatomy and biology just doesn't work for, right?
Right.
Like biology says, hey, if you eat in a caloric deficit, you're going to lose calories. Oh well, not me. I've tried that before. Like I can, but you haven't, right? Like you tried
Mhm,
junk science from somebody else.
right.
But from their perspective, they truly believe that there's something physiologically wrong with them, or they're bad, or they suck at this, or whatever. And then it beats them down. And then because they're beaten down from this fractured perspective, they typically would cope with more food to make themselves feel better. And they just keep the cycle going. Um,
Right.
so I think self talk in a negative sense works an awful lot like that. Like you beat yourself down enough and you think that your fractured perspective is actually reality when it's sometimes not. Sometimes
and
it's your hurt one.
And it's no different. It's no different than substance use, to be honest with you. So
Yeah.
food and drugs,
Well, it is a
alcohol, all the
substance. Yeah.
same. Yeah. It's all the exact same. The way you just described it right there. Well, yeah. Well, the other thing is that you kind of walk yourself down that path, just like Marissa was saying, that self-fulfilling prophecy. That you know, like if you want to get high, right? If you're going to get high, there's a lot of research that shows that you start feeling high when you're going to the dope man, and when you're making that phone call, or when you even start the process. Which it's no different than like in negative or traumatic situations. If you walk into a household that was abusive to you, or walk around a person that was abusive to you, you already start cowering a little bit. You already start acting a little different. Maybe even start twitching or feeling anxious. And again, so if you start thinking a certain thing about yourself and talking a certain way about yourself, you already start that process of mentality and of emotion and of response that you're projecting. Remember, everything is about responses, right? There's an action and there's an equal and opposite reaction, right?
Yeah.
But in recovery or in treatment or in good balanced health, we talk about it being more of a response than a reaction. So you're not a reactive person. You're just anticipating that things aren't always going to be perfect. So you're going to respond to things that happen to you because you know they're going to go back to balance or go back to self-regulation soon after. It's not going to stay as bad or as negative as it is. But there's a lot of you that walk around, and that's what you tell yourself. You're saying, "Oh, that's just my luck." That's the way it always is with me. I have
Yeah.
the worst luck on earth. It always is like this. I'm just going to wait for the other shoe to drop kind of attitude. You know what I mean? And when you do that, well, of course, sometimes it's not going to work out great. So every time the negative happens after something good happens, all that does is further validate your negative thought process to yourself, negative thought process about your life and about your situation or about the person you're trying to get better with. And if you do that long enough, eventually you go so far out, it's really hard to come back from that. It's like in a relationship. If you move too far to the edge and you get too brutal with your words, you may never be able to take those words back and get to a better place.
Isn't it funny though how it doesn't seem to work in reverse though? Have you ever noticed that? Right?
Positive?
Well, yeah, like if something
No.
if we're thinking negative, right? And we can have an entire 24-hour day.
Right.
And let's say we slept for however long, and let's say 18 hours of that day were fine. Nothing bad happened. It was a totally completely fine day.
Right.
But like 30 minutes of that day went bad. And
Mm-hmm.
we'll use that 30 minutes to say, see, I told you, like it proves my point. Bad things happen to me all the time.
Yeah.
Completely disregarding the other 98% of the day that was
Mm-hmm.
completely fine. Like being negative is so easy to do, and it's so contagious. Be it with yourself or other people, right? Like it's contagious with yourself because you start thinking negative and it snowballs. Contagious to other people because, like you're always saying, we can walk into any bar in the world and start complaining about women, and we'll have a whole bunch of man, I hate that too. Like complaining and negativity and pissiness is just so contagious, man. It's like a hard thing to stop. But like I said, it never works in the reverse. We don't ever like say
no,
like, oh, the positive is just so great. Like positive things happen to me all the time, even though that's more likely true for most people.
Yeah, lift up that drink at a bar and go like, let's celebrate our wives, fellas. Let's all how great our wives are, and can we all just do a prayer real quick? Can we all pray? Try to do a prayer in the bar, man, and see where that takes you.
What? Here?
It doesn't work that way, man. Yeah, you're right. Positive energy is so much harder to get going, even though it is equally contagious. But it just doesn't have the same momentum, and it doesn't have the same flair. It doesn't have the same sexiness to it. So so we don't really look at it, remember it, and it doesn't make that same impact on us. But we have to believe it has the same momentum and ability. It just has the same ability. So I personally choose that we all practice smiling to each other, saying hi to each other, just recognize that each other exists. Just same way you should do that to yourself. You know what I mean? Like when you look at yourself, don't just point out all your flaws and try to fix them. Give yourself a positive. And some of you are good at it because I know some of you just don't. Look, I just got to be honest, Trudy. Some people just don't look as good as they say they do. Right? Like
right.
I mean, we don't always look as good. I mean, I really might look a lot worse than I think I look. And so people must say, man, he really thinks he's all that, but look at him. Look at his ugly self, right? There's always that. But when you do some positive self-talk to yourself, You're like the best looking person on earth. You're the smartest person on earth. It's just how you carry yourself, man. And it's not always arrogance. It's just this. There's an internal confidence that says, "But this is the best I can be." So I might as well walk with it like it's golden, because I can't get better than this. You know what I mean? I can't really do better than this. And if I can, I'm gonna try to achieve that tomorrow. But today, this is what I got.
But some people take that and look at that, like you said, as cockiness or being conceited. Like I know, I walk around all day. I'm the toughest thing on the road. But in the same essence, it's gonna be some things on that road that I'm just not gonna deal with. Like I tell people all the time, you know, I'll take my chances on fighting a lion, tiger, and a bear before I would an alligator, raccoon, and a rat and a snake.
It's a random one. Okay,
I might have to digest that one.
Right?
Like they just too small. They move a little bit faster than me. With a bear and a lion, I can see a little bit. I can probably get a bob and weave in and turn around.
I'm just gonna put this out there. I'm gonna just put that. I'm a big dude. I'm 6'3". I'm a big man, and I feel very confident in my fighting abilities. I would much rather take on a rat than a lion any day. I'm just gonna put that out there. I'm just gonna put that out there.
That rat gonna have to chase me down.
I can stomp on him.
Hey, I'm running a 4-7 flat.
You know, from the Mexican in the room, let me tell you something. A little 5'4" Mexican cholo with tablitas on. That boy can kick you in the butt so hard, bro. They kick so fast, and they're hard to grab, and you can try to wrestle them. They're strong dudes, man. Let me tell you something, man. I'm a 5'10" Mexican. I have nothing on that 5'4", man. That 5'4" Mexican can pick up a truck, bro. So don't be fooled.
Well, we have a couple comments. We have a couple comments on Facebook. The first one is from Marissa. Says, "I've tried everything," in quotations, is almost always inaccurate. I don't think people are intentionally lying when they say that, but you don't know what you don't know. She followed that up with this one that says, "Always and never should be the first to go when you're trying to change the way you think. Absolutes put you in a box and make it harder to change the behavior." And then here's a new listener. I don't think I've seen this name before. Is Nicholas. He says, "I do think Buddhism provides an efficient framework for people of any religion or belief. I think of right thought immediately, but what else?"
Right on.
I think that was a reference to my previous comment. But.
Yeah, it was. Thank you, Nick. And I think Nick was also the one saying that he knew Greg Jackson.
Okay.
Thanks for that, Nick. Yeah, you know, but the thing is this: some of you, in some part of your day, and if not today, maybe tomorrow or next month, because it's going to happen, right? Pain is a part of life that we talk about on Dharma Time, right?
Yes, sir.
So it's going to happen. Like bad stuff is going to happen, but you can't walk around just calling it out. I mean, and just validating that life sucks because bad stuff's always happens. Because like Trinity stuff, a lot of good stuff happens too. And I'm going to give you an example. You know, Trinity, a lot of times you would talk about that whole flat tire deal, right? You know, and I'm going to go a different direction with it. You know, if you ever hear us talk, you ever hear Trinity talk, you know, he likes to explain that you having a flat tire might be a bad day for you, but for the guy who fixes tires, it's a good day for him. But I'm also going to go further, because if a flat tire is all you got on that road, and you, that means you pass Shaw with his road rageness and his, you know, and all that stuff. That means you didn't get in a fight with Shaw on the road. You didn't run into it, right? You know, because there's a lot of bad stuff that can really happen on a road, right? You can have serious accidents on the road. See, not everybody got home tonight, Trinity. I always think about that at nighttime, to be honest.
Of course.
You know, one of my bookend things, you know, I think you should bookend your day, you know, something real positive in the morning, something real cool at night, you know, put your blessings in between, just to be able to recognize the blessings that are in between. And if there's unfinished business and you need to finish it, and stuff like that, right? It's a bookend of a day kind of deal that I do. And so when it becomes nighttime outside, I can't help but think that somebody's in the emergency room tonight, or somebody got, you know, like, where's dad, or where's mom, or where's my brother, where's my sister, where they at? And you get that phone call and you find out, you know, unfortunately they had an accident on their way home today, and they don't make it home. Not everybody makes it home at night. And so when I get home at night, when I'm in my house, I feel like, I made it, you know, or like, I mean, have you ever done that? Like you come back from vacation and you had a long drive. Anytime I get in my neighborhood and I park that car, I'm like, oh my God, we made it. We did good. You know what I mean? We had a successful trip. We had a successful ride, you know, because a flat tire would be the best thing that you can have happen
right?
In situations, you know what I mean? And I'm saying there's a lot of negative stuff that happens to all of us, but it's not the worst. It's not the worst. I mean, there are some worst case scenarios, and I'm not going to minimize some of the things that some of you have gone through or some of the things that we've gone through, but I'm just saying focusing on that is not going to help you get through the next moment. You know, you got to have that adequate little grieving period. You got to have that adequate time of being able to, you know, process through the emotions that you are feeling, recognize what they are. But then at some point, and hopefully sooner better than later, you got to turn that around and it's got to start working in your favor. Because if it doesn't work in your favor, all it is like an anchor, and it does not allow you to enjoy even the best of moments outside of that.
Yeah, and I have some at face value controversial thoughts about the whole positive thing. But
Okay.
before I give that, Marissa put another comment on. She said, even if you can't find something positive, be open to it being there. Like when all the flights to Florida were canceled, sure, I vented and complained, but would take a few minutes every day during that time to visualize myself there, even if I didn't believe it or know how.
Right.
So for me, bear with me here. I know
Okay.
that I just posted up on one of my Dharma dailies actually the other day, and I was actually kind of shocked that nobody bombarded me with it. And it was stop trying to find positives in all things.
Okay.
Because for me, I think that's I'm not going to tell anybody how to think, right? I'm just going to
Uh-huh.
say that for me personally, finding positives in all things is a very slippery slope. And what I mean by that is I have a bad habit, or I did anyways, of when I tried to find the positives in all things, I had a bad habit of labeling everything positive or negative. This is good, this is bad. And it becomes an absolute type of idea. And so for me, I don't like to think of things as positive and negative because at the end of the day, what is positive and negative? Positive typically means that it went along my expectations, and negative means it didn't go along my expectations. So the thing itself wasn't positive or negative, it was my expectations, whether they were met or not. And so for me, it works better instead of looking at things in the perspective of positive, negative. I instead look at them as this happened, and now I've got to adapt or I've got to respond to it. And if it didn't go along my expectations, how am I going to respond to this? And if it did go to my expectations, how am I going to respond to it? Like the idea of constantly trying to find positive, then you start to analyze things and you start to label them and put them in boxes. And I think that's a very slippery slope for a lot of people, myself included in that. So for me, what helped a lot of my self-talk when I really started to think about it, like a lot of my quote unquote failures, I
Right.
stopped looking at them as negatives. I just started looking at it as like, okay, that didn't work out this time. What can I do differently? As opposed to just identifying it as a negative thing, this bad thing happened. It's just I had a moment, it didn't go as planned. Let me redefine that. And so for me, it just helps because so a lot of the people I've interacted with on this kind of a level, I've encouraged them to stop looking at things as this absolute positive or negative, and start to look at it as just it's a life event. It's just something that took place. I'm experiencing it at the moment. It's temporary, whether it be good or bad, and then
Right.
let me respond to it.
So let me ask this because
Sure.
oftentimes I embrace negative. I embrace fear. I embrace some of those things that we consider to be bad.
It inspires you.
Right, it's a challenge. It
Sure.
makes me make it go to another level. So, like
Right.
when I was applying for a job to work in television or radio, I
Right.
would go to every radio station. They say no, we're not. I say cool, no problem. Next week I'm coming back, and when I'm coming back, you're gonna say yes because you're gonna need me for something because I'm
Right.
good at what I do. So,
Right.
the following week I went back and they was like, no, we don't have anything. I said, well, I'll be back next week as an intern. I like it because it helps me, it pushes me even more. I thrive off of it.
Mm.
Is that a bad thing? Is
Yeah,
that
no, it's not a negative.
No,
I mean,
not at all.
it's just you. Just like Trinity said, that works for him, and what you just said is that works for you, and we're all different, and it's all allowed. There's no right or wrong here. I think that's the
Exactly.
beautiful thing about it. There's no one way to do this. We're all very different people, and we're all inspired differently. We all encourage differently. The type of people that I get motivated from don't necessarily motivate you guys. You know what I mean? The things that inspire me don't necessarily inspire you guys. I personally don't mind positive, negative, because when I hear negative, I just know the positive is coming next, because everything bounces, what goes up must come down, whatever, hits the ground with a rubbery outing, bounces back up, and everything has a rubbery outing, man. Everything comes back up. It's just, I think stock market, man, stock market constantly goes up and down. I mean, it is what
rubber?
it is.
Come on,
Uh,
XRP, baby.
yeah. Yeah. So I'm not as concerned about, negative things. All negative things tell me is that a positive is next or coming soon. And so you prepare for it so you can embrace it and enjoy it, because the reality is those positive or good feeling moments, they are temporary, man. Just like the bad things are temporary. Things
Yep.
that bother you are temporary. So when they come, you want to recognize them and you want them to be what they are, so that can be inspired. We can't all be Zen masters. I mean, if you've been around some very Zen masterish people, there's not a lot of emotion there. I'm more of a man.
Yeah.
I'm more expressive. I'm more emotion. So that's not going to happen. Something serious would have to happen in my life that would blast my brain to be emotionless. That's not my energy. You know what I mean? But Trinity's energy is different for him. And so, Shaw, your energy is a little bit more similar to mine, where you're very expressive, and you like the flair and the loudness and the excitement, and that's different. And so
I'm
for
like
us,
Rick. Yeah.
woo, woo, yeah. Well, I mean, and I get it. Me too. I require it.
I used to be that way,
Anything.
by the way.
Mhm,
Like that was
mhm,
always me. I thrived off of anger. I
mhm.
thrived off of like, I'm
Well, I
gonna
didn't say I
show
thrive off
this.
of anger right now. No,
No,
I'm not.
but I used to.
Well, I hear you, but I'm not saying that when we're expressive, we're at a place that requires the growth, so we're no longer
Sure.
expressionless. I'm not saying one is better than the other, or one is a more evolved species than the other. I'm just saying that regardless of where you're at and what inspires you, self-talk is still constant. The self-talk part is
Yeah.
constant, because whether you're expressionless or whether you're very expressive, how you communicate that is what's important. I think that's what's important of what you said, Trinity, is that the way you communicated it to yourself and the way you teach it, it gives you power and control over what you can have power and control over, and allows you to accept what you do not have power and control over. And that's the same thing as what you see in the serenity prayer. It's the same
Right.
thing that you see when people truly practice their faith really well, rather than bastardize it or make it a negative. It's truly a way that, in good mental health, or better way of thinking, a lot of times, is just allows you to be understanding. And look, this is there. Now, there's people that are listening right now that say everything happens for a reason. I'm more inclined to say that I like to apply reason to everything that happens, only because I like to make use out of things. I'm
Right.
not a person that does believe in predetermined scenarios or fate. I'm not a fate believer. That doesn't make me wrong, and that doesn't make you right. I'm just saying that's not where my head's at. What I like to believe and what inspires me is that I have some choices to make within certain parameters. There's certain things that obviously are fated by my abilities, by my total scope of abilities, right? Like, I can't be a Michael Jordan, no matter what, no matter how much practice, no matter how much, how determined, no matter how much
You can do
self-positive
it.
thought.
I believe in
Yeah,
you.
no matter how much positive self-talk, I'm not going to be able to do what Michael Jordan did in basketball. But in other parts of his life, I think I got him. I think I can beat him in some other parts of his life. I think I can
Right.
I can challenge him, and I can dunk in his face in
Mm-mm.
certain other parts of his life.
You sacrilegious there, boy. You're
We,
starting
talk, we
some
talking about
arguments.
we talking about
Just saying.
Mike here now. Wait a minute, because he's competitive in everything.
Well, I know, but I got a pretty good marriage here going, and I don't think that a lot of people can compete in me in some of these
Mic
kind of
drop.
things, man. So
Mic drop.
so I'll challenge anybody in that kind of business, man. But you see what I'm saying? What I'm saying is that you still have to self-talk yourself, because sometimes, just like I did that with Michael, we compare ourselves and we say things about ourselves in moments where we're not supposed to be the shiny star in that
Right.
one. And that one, you're probably more of a 5 than a 10. You know what I mean? And that's okay. I mean, if you listen to this show for a long time, you hear me say it all the time that I'm a 5. I like being a 5. It's not that I aspire to be a 5, but I'm real comfortable at a 5, because that way I don't have to worry about, always being a 10. You know what I mean? I know I don't look like a 10. I know I don't act like a 10. I'm not funny like a 10. I'm not talented like a 10. I'm not smart as a 10. I'm an average person that maximizes the skill sets that I do have on most days. And then other days I completely ignore that I have them, and I just act like a buffoon. And so I play
I'm with,
between,
I'm with
I play between like maybe a 2 and an 8, really. But my average is a 5, but I play within that 2 and an 8. You know what I mean?
Well, speaking of that kind of stuff, we have 2 more comments here. We have Marissa said, embracing it and not letting it defeat you is a great way to think about it. And then Nicholas also said, I try to maintain my sanity with a mix of self-deprecation and cockiness. I use cliches in my head to process a stream of self-talk like a mantra, I guess.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. See, we all find our own ways, and that's what's cool about it. Just use it. Like, I know that I talk out loud when I talk to myself. Like, just thinking it doesn't work for me. I don't know about you guys, so I'm going to ask you guys
all
after
the
I
time.
finish ranting right here. But I like doing it out loud. If I
only did
do
it
it out
once.
loud, you only did what once? You only spoke out loud once?
Yeah, I only did a lot of stuff once that time that I was trying to get on the bus and not get jumped on. That was the only time I did that one out loud.
Yeah, I do it all the time. I will talk to myself out loud because the relationship that I believe that we have with ourselves is the most underappreciated and the least amount of communication that we have. And what do we know about relationships? Communication is key, right?
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. How long have you been married, Shaw?
It'll be 11 years this year.
Okay, Trinity, how long did you say?
8, I think. 7 or 8.
Okay, so let me. I gotta educate.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
I'm kidding. No, but education. I mean, communication is that key. However, that is, and you're gonna do negative talk in that communication. Then guess what? You're gonna get negative outcomes. It's always gonna be negative outcomes. There's always the next conflict on the horizon. One fight will bleed into the next fight. Will bleed into the next fight, and then it'll be used against you for 20, 30 years. It'll never go away. Trust me. But the positive stuff, you have to nourish that stuff. And it's no different than with yourself, man. Just like with another human being, communication is everything to yourself as well. So I personally believe in talking to yourself and not to the point of, where people like what Shaw's doing on the bus. I don't know about if that's the right place to do it, because
the crazy guy looking the window.
Something else might happen to you. But a little bit of self-talk, to yourself in a positive way just kind of gets you moving. It gets your groove on. It's just like when you have your favorite song, you say, that's my song. How many of you have ever said that, man? When the song comes on, you go, that's my song. What do you think you're doing right there? That's positive self-talk. You're taking the words that singer is singing and you're applying it to you as if it means something to you, to the point where they wrote it for you or they were thinking about you when they wrote it. And then you identify with it. That's no different. The difference of self-talk and then listening to that's my song is that you can write your own story. You can write your own lyrics. You can write your own poetry. And so that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying communicate with yourself. Write your own poetry, your own lyrics, your own thoughts, your own situation. Go ahead, Shaw.
I learned some years ago. I had the opportunity to play against Tim Hardaway, a professional basketball player.
Really?
Yeah.
I knew Tim Hardaway. Did you just bring up that name because I knew him?
Yeah. No. I mean, I'm a Tim Hardaway fan. Every single day, yes.
Like
because
Tim, Golden State Tim.
Yeah.
Or Miami Tim.
Okay.
Right, the Miami Tim. During that,
how about
time,
UTEP Tim? I'll put you both at UTEP. If I had a memory, I could tell you the English teacher's class name, but I don't remember my English teacher's name.
What about in the womb, Tim?
I had him in English at UTEP. He was my classmate.
During that time, I was at the camp in Illinois, and the USA basketball team, that dream team, came in, and Tim Hardaway had the camp that day, and I was at the camp, and I was, maybe 8, 9, somewhere right around in there. And instead of me paying attention to him, I was like, yo, there go David Robinson, there go Michael Jordan, there go Magic Johnson. And he's like, hey, kid. And he threw the ball at me. He said, hey, you know what I'll do? I'll play you 1-on-1. And if you beat me, I'll let you go over there. And he gave me ball first. I'm like, for real? All right, bet it up. My confidence went up. The first shot I made, bam. Okay, I got this. All I had to play was to 3. I did a fake jump shot, dribbled over, and took the shot. He's like, okay. And then he just shut it down from there. Like, you ain't getting nothing else. And he just,
I was gonna say that crossover that he had. I don't know if you can defend his dribbling skills, man.
And he made me sit down before I realized, but he told me I hit hard, and that was that motivation.
That's awesome.
That kept me playing in the game. Because most kids probably would have given up and won't want to play again. I was ready for another challenge. Like, hey Tim, I did what you showed me to do. Now come on, let's do this 1-on-1 one more time.
Right, that's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, that's my dude right there. If I had to see Tim again, I'll remind him.
That's a real cool story. Yeah, if I ever see Tim again, I'll remind him that he helped me get through that English class by telling me when I had to go and when I didn't have to go. Because apparently, all the basketball players knew when we were having tests and when we didn't have tests.
I wonder why.
It's weird. We actually had two NBA players in that class. Man, Antonio Davis was the other.
Oh, for real?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Antonio Davis and Timmy were in that same English class. Anyway, enough of the nostalgia part. But that's who does real good self-talk when you talk sports that I really admire, and I think all of us admire this person. So I think it's an easy one, is Deion Sanders. I think the way Deion would act and talk and say that's
if you look
probably
good,
one
you
of the,
feel good. If you feel good, you play good.
Right. In our generation, or at least in my generation of growth, because even though I was young enough, I'm old enough to have seen Muhammad Ali fight. I wasn't at a mature age to watch Muhammad Ali fight. But when it comes to Deion Sanders, that was at like a really important part of my life. The 20s, where that's how I really could identify that, man, this guy talks it, but he lives it, man. He does it, man. He backs it up. And so he was probably the first sports figure that would talk, and you watched him either to watch him fail or victory, but you're watching them. And that was the key, man. And I love that. And man, I really took a lot from that. And that's probably where I mold a lot. I mean, that's my style of sport, where it's like, I'm going to mess with you. Now, I'm only going to mess with you when I know I can kind of do this. Like, I don't talk smack on sports that I know I can't do. If I know I can do it, I'm going to talk smack. If not, I'm probably not even going to play, to be honest.
Way to put yourself out there, man.
Well, but like, I've never done golf, but I get out there and I talk trash like I'm the best golfer in the world.
Yeah. Well,
I need to come to our tournament then.
I do golf. I suck at golf, and I don't talk smack while I golf because I do suck at it. But I do like playing it. Anyway, so let's move on. We got about 10 minutes left of the show.
Y'all see that bird over there? And I pick up and throw the ball. But you wouldn't know because y'all looking at the bird.
You just kick it a little bit closer to the hole.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So in closing a little bit, let's start closing up. So again, people, this is a show that focuses on addiction and recovery. And so most of the times that's where we kind of stick around, even though we jump around all over the place. We're talking about self-talk today. And the reason we're talking about self-talk today is because there's a lot of you out there that are struggling, and you're struggling with something maybe that's pretty serious. And maybe you feel like you've never been successful at getting through it. Maybe you feel like you've never been able to achieve what you're trying to achieve. And maybe you doubt it, and you doubt it to the point where you tell yourself that you're going to fail, and you tell yourself that it's not going to work out. Failure is not your biggest enemy. Failure is not necessarily a negative. And again, we talk about that on other shows of Dharma Time and stuff like that before as well, where all these things that you may experience while trying to get to where you want to get to are just barriers, man. They're just barriers. But you got to tell yourself, do I walk over the barrier? Or do I crawl under the barrier? Can I push through this barrier? I mean, you can talk yourself through a situation and a scenario, and what you'll find is you'll get clarity of thought in talking through a scenario, much like if you had somebody next to you and you were kind of like talking it out. Like, have you ever worked in a team, in a group, where you're all kind of sharing information, and hasn't some information from another person come out and you go, you're right. I probably would have gotten to that point, but you just got us there, a few minutes quicker because you brought it up before I even thought about it. And that's the same with self-talk. With self-talk, when you're talking it out, it kind of takes thoughts that you're having that are kind of like flying through your head, and they're just undisciplined thought, and it creates a discipline to the thought by speaking it. And when you speak it, it's like writing something down. It's really hard to ignore what you have written down, but it's easy to ignore it if you're just thinking about it, or if it's just flying in your head. And that's why so many of us miss appointments, and so many of us run late, because it's not necessarily written down. Trinity, this is where I want you to come in. I want you to come in, and I want to give us some sort of tool of self-talk, some sort of action item of what we can do
I think you know exactly where I'm going to go. So you're setting them up, I knock them down.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think so out of all the tools that I've kind of heard of or read or implemented myself, I think the most valuable one that I always talk about is just the way we motivate ourselves. Because at the end of the day, we all have goals we want to accomplish. We have things that we want to set out and do, or things that we want to stop doing. Some sort of thing that we want to move towards. And oftentimes we motivate ourselves, but I don't think we realize that we motivate ourselves in ways that just don't work sometimes. Um, if anybody's here trained a dog before, the
I'm
old
doing it
school,
now.
there you go. Well, this old school mentality of if the dog pees on the carpet, rubbing their face and punishing them or something like that, it doesn't really work, right? What it does succeed in doing is making the dog afraid of you, right? It makes the dog realize that this dude's going to hit. It doesn't make them think, hey, I need to probably not pee here. Any dog trainer in the world that you look at, they're going to you'll see that rewards. Like give them a treat when they do the thing that you want them to do, and then they'll start to associate that. And humans are much the same in that. Encouragement and positivity gets us so much closer to our goal typically than negative reinforcement. We know that with kids, right? Like we know that if one of our children or somebody much much younger comes to us for advice, saying, "Hey, I need help to do this," or "I'm not really good at this," blah blah blah, we kind of instinctually know that our response shouldn't be, "Yeah, you are an idiot and you're stupid for doing that," blah blah blah. We kind of all instinctually know that. If it's a little kid to come to us, we kind of know that it's not useful to beat them down and bully them and tell them how bad they were. Instead, we'll tell them, okay, well, hey, maybe, you'll get better next time, or practice makes perfect. So we inherently know that. And we're really good at that, to be honest with you. Most people, when it comes to like little children, are really, really good at giving that positive reinforcement. But then in the same day, we'll turn around and motivate ourselves in a way that we know doesn't work. So we'll do something we don't like and we'll get really pissed off at ourselves and be like, oh, I'm so stupid. I can't believe I did this again. I'm such an idiot, blah, blah. We'll do that. And in the idea that we're motivating ourselves, but you're really not. You're actually demotivating yourself. You're bullying yourself. And so that's why the homework I always give, man. Like when I was doing all the groups and stuff, the homework was basically the Eightfold Path is right speech. Make sure it's truthful and useful. So it has to be truthful, understanding that truth is 360. It's not just my perspective, it's all of them. And is it useful? Is it kind? Is it going to help the situation? And so, the homework is to do that with yourself. When you're talking to yourself, is it truthful? And is it useful? I think if we start doing that collectively, we'll start to notice some better outcomes typically, and we'll feel better about ourselves and about the things that we're trying to accomplish.
Right on, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Shaw, I know you're doing multiple things. You're getting some music queued up there for when the show's over and the next show comes in. Before you tell us who's coming on next after this show at WOKB 1680 AM, what any last parting thoughts or things that are going through your head on this?
Dare to be different. Don't fall for what everybody else think of you. Do you and what's in your heart. Dare to be different. That's close as I can.
Yeah, right. I like the music in the background. You heard it here first, kids.
He did a musical bed thing, man. What is this?
On,
PSA. Man. He did like a PSA announcement.
Welcome to Nuggets of Knowledge with Chris Shaw.
Brought to you by Orange County.
Right.
Thank you to Orange County for being our sponsor for all these years. By the way, we appreciate you. Anyway, what I'm gonna end with is this. We all do say stuff to ourselves, whether you think it or not. I mean, some of you don't do it out loud, like I may do it out loud. But I do feel it's important. Words used to really bother me a lot. Words used to really hurt. And I know we're getting to a time and a place where we're being told that words should be equally as offensive as they used to be. I thought we were getting past that because when I was a kid, I needed all those adults to do exactly what they did. And they told me, look, Louis, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. And we were moving in that direction. And I needed all those adults to tell me that because those words really made me feel horrible about my life situation, myself, the things that I was doing. I just had so much self-esteem issues related to a lot of those words. I really didn't understand them. You know, and when you're raised in a bilingual household or a household that speaks two different languages, it's not like the words don't actually mean the same in one as they do in the other, and they don't really translate. And those emotions don't always translate the same way. So I think that had a lot to do with it. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff there that we all have to unpack from childhood. And then we get to a place like now, and we're seeing people being told that words matter and the words are more harmful than physical. And they're right. Words are more harmful than physical. I never used to believe that, and I wouldn't have believed that in the past. But I will tell you this. I still would rather Shaw call me a bunch of names than punch me in the face. I just would. I will be okay. You know what I mean? But I think we need to get to a place just with ourselves that just don't be the bully, like Trinity says. Like, I don't want you physically hurting yourself and cutting yourself and doing self-injury, and I don't want you verbally hurting yourself. So to me, it doesn't matter whether the words are worse for you or physical is worse for you. Look, both are bad. And next time you find yourself doing negative self-talk, just imagine you're just punching yourself, and for no good reason. It's not like you're getting into a fight or getting into, you know, getting ready for a football game. I mean, you want to do something, do a haka. You know, I wish I was Samoan sometimes where I could just have a haka, you know, where I go, do that whole, like, I love that. You know, I know I'm saying it wrong, you know, and I probably, you know, I don't want to disrespect it, but that is positive self-talk. When you watch something like a haka, that is positive self-talk. You psych yourself into accomplishing something you're going to do. If you don't believe me, go Google HAKA. That is the most positive self-talk you could do to yourself to get you psyched up and motivated. It's an incredible thing, and it's very inspirational as well. But anyway, we're done here. We got to go. What's coming up next, Shaw?
The Side Show Monday is coming your way. All good entertainment. They're walking in right now as we speak. Get ready for music that you're going to make you lose control.
Love the All Good Brothers. Can one of them peek around the corner? Let's see him real quick before I sign off. Where is he? Let me see one.
They come. No, literally, they walking in the door.
Oh, they're yeah. All right. All right, everybody. From Adios, amigos. It's time for a taco. Goodbye.